perhaps table that section until we get some expert opinion on it and act accordingly. Do that part. But the remaining parts, we can work as a bill. That will be 1320. And provided there's nothing as controversial as this section, we probably could continue working on that part of the bill. So it's been recommended to the committee that we pull that section out. What section, what is it, 10 through 15?
I think section 12 also includes preliminary breath testing devices, which speak to all intoxicants, although it's not introduced. It's introduced with a THC provision, so I don't know if that was intended to be used for screening for other intoxicants or drugs as well. I'm not positive, but it does seem to be going with the proposal with the THC. So, and it isn't something that currently exists or that is used for screening for alcohol or other drugs that I'm aware of.
Do we have a representative for motor vehicle? Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon, Rob O'Connell, Director of Legal Affairs, Adjudications, and Hearings at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. The PBT, the Portable Breath Testing Device, has nothing to do with the THC. It's basically a device that detects alcohol in an individual's system by a breath test. There are devices out there that are available for other drugs, but this is not one of those. These PBTs have been approved by the United States Department of Transportation, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. There's a number of those. I think there's like 34 that have been approved.
So, Mr. Carl, in your research in doing this, I assume that you would have put in this, these sections.
That's correct.
Okay. So, yeah, the authority in the room right now, perhaps, me as a committee is. So, there's been a lot of controversy concerning the 5 milligrams. And so we feel it should be higher. So how did you determine 5? Is that just other states are doing 5? Or?
There are 3 other states that have 5 nanograms. The decisions in those states are based on primarily the studies that are included in your packet. The Gorham study initially, and the other studies. And that's based on a review of other epidemiological studies and crash studies. They didn't pull it out of the air. Okay? While there is certainly not a scientific consensus that 5 nanograms is the appropriate level, there's a group of 24 or so national and international scientists that have indicated, supported by other studies, that 5 nanograms in whole blood is a rational, reasonable approach in segregating the unimpaired from the impaired individual who's under the influence of THC.
Okay. I think Russell Perry is first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Senator Diamond on this. I've been somebody that's been 100% for medical marijuana. I've been on the fence, back and forth. Sometimes I'm for it, sometimes I'm against it on full legalization. And it kind of bothers me that people that push full legalization in medical marijuana don't want to have any standard. And that worries me. I think that if the states that have made it legal have set it at this rate, I don't think it's unreasonable. I understand what Representative Howard said about the U.S. Department of Transportation not getting there yet. Well, under federal law, they're against it anyway, so it should be done. So they wouldn't be setting levels right now. But I think that we've got to, there's going to be a whole bunch of votes coming forward in this building on legalizing marijuana. And I have a real problem with just saying, no, let's pull it out, let's not do it, let's do nothing. And I think something's got to be done. I don't know if 5 is right. I'd go with 5 if the other states that have legalized it have gone to 5. But I have a real problem with just saying, no, we just pull it out and we don't do anything.
Brian.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Well, I certainly oppose to having anything from Section 10 on in the bill. And I don't think we're saying not to do anything. We're saying not to do something rash. We're saying do it right and have the right people look at it. I'm not comfortable with the right people at this time for this part. I think we do need to do something. We need to make sure the action continues on and it gets analyzed right. But for us to just pick a number and say it's right, I'm not there. I think the best thing to do is follow the lead of Representative Powers, separate this and put it into committee or into experts that can massage it and make it right.
Well, I'll just say that we deal as a committee with many complicated issues, and sometimes we as individuals know very little about that subject, whatever that subject may be. But we collectively, as a committee, work on an issue with testimony from so-called experts, people who are more knowledgeable than, say, we are. And this is how the legislature works. We come up with an opinion, and we either vote accordingly, vote to be allowed to the main body, the House and Senate, or we don't. But we've dealt with some pretty complicated issues here in this committee, and we've got another one coming before us, that being neighborhoods. That's a very complicated issue. Not saying we can't work through it, but I have concerns about the limits myself. I guess I have to have some kind of guarantee that we're going to do something this session and not sit on it and pack it somewhere and go away. That's my concern. So go away.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just concerned that in Section 12 and 13, the second half of Section 12 from line 13, this is about preliminary breath testing devices and making them part of the probable cause. I don't think it's the intent to get rid of that. We want that in. And the other one is actually exempting THC or metabolite from the DRT expert. And I think we'd be making a mistake if we want to kick out the whole THC conversation. These two sections probably are really not designed to be part of that marijuana discussion, with the exception of exempting it from the DRT program. I'd be concerned about that.
Anybody else?
Is that what 1, 2, and 3 at the beginning of Section 12 does, is exempting that from the preliminary breath testing devices? No, then. Well, I just also wanted to say that I'm certainly not saying that we do nothing. I'm certainly not saying that we should just pretend that it isn't an issue. Driving with impairment is an issue. This isn't the vehicle. This bill is not the vehicle for it. And I don't think that the testing, I know that the testing isn't conclusive on it. We have all kinds of different information about it. But if you read the summary from this, the drug driving issue is complex, and drug testing and reporting across states and jurisdictions is not uniform. Users of FARS data must keep the limitations in mind when interpreting the data. Currently, the data in FARS is insufficient to allow comparisons of drugs used across years or across states. In addition, in light of the limitations detailed above, it is also not possible to make inferences about impairment, crash causation, or comparisons to alcohol from this limited data. As more complete data becomes available, FARS data on drug-involved driving will be strengthened. So there's obviously a lot of people grappling with it. I'm not saying that we do nothing. I just say this is not the right place for it. There's a lot of things on this bill. I want to bring more controversy into it, Senator Collins, because I want to talk more about beef. So I don't know that this bill can even be completely worked today. In my opinion, it can't, because there are so many issues. But I don't want to make it seem that I we should do nothing. I just think this is wrong. I don't want to see a lot of people arrested for impairment, and that just doesn't exist, but we don't really know how that works. And that's a bigger concern for me, is, arresting people for something that we don't even know what the facts are.
Nobody wants to be responsible for that. So you're saying, Representative Powers, that you'd like to have some additional testimony from folks who are in the know before we make a final decision on this bill.
Well, I think there may be some other people in the State House that are working on some kind of study regarding, I don't know if there's anyone here in the audience that can speak to that, or if we want to have someone speak to that, but this bill is not where this discussion
Do you feel as though we
belongs.
should table this bill?
Well, we can remove the sections that directly relate to the 5 nanograms in THC, if the committee so chooses on my motion. And like I said, I have other questions about fees, and I don't know if this is the place that we want to do that, but I would like to have this conversation, so perhaps this bill should be tabled. But I don't want to end the conversation at this point yet.
Senator Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we get two separate bills here, really, because all the sections before do some things that we probably should get done and probably would pass and would not have a veto and sail along very nicely. When we put this other piece in, I think it changes the whole focus of the bill because of the nature of 10 through 15. If we remove that section, we could pass the things we've already talked about. We could remove 10 through 15, and then we could direct where it goes. We could direct it's going to stay here in a separate, we're going to approach it separately, or we're going to send it to criminal justice and let them deal with it, because that's some of the things they deal with. We'd have some options, and that would have to be, for me to support taking it out, we'd have to have a definite decision on where it's going to go. Either it stays here in a separate bill, or it goes to criminal justice and they deal with it, because that's more than their substance. So that's where I come down with the motion, and I think it's a good idea. If we want to protect everything else that's here, and get that passed, and then let the other half be dealt with directed as we think as a committee should do.
I'll ask our panelists, the current OUI laws pertaining to the consumption of alcohol and the violation of consuming way too much. What committee has jurisdiction over those laws?
Well, it's the prerogative of the legislature to decide where to reference bills. I can tell you historically, in my tenure, which does go back a little ways in that committee, I would say that many, if not most, in many sessions of the legislation amending OUI and OAS laws were probably worked on in criminal justice. However, I don't think it's totally unheard of that once in a while something shows up in a department's omnibus bill, although I think sometimes those were often filed over as well. You got Senator Diamond, a former sheriff.
But historically, they've dealt with those types of laws.
I think the policy questions about operating under the influence, operating under suspension.
Because I've been a member of this committee for 13 years, and I don't ever remember us hearing a bill dealing with OUI laws.
I was staff for many 18 years, more than 13, and yeah, we did do a lot of OUI stuff.
When you consider this being another intoxicant, potentially, I think perhaps it doesn't belong here. I think it belongs to criminal justice. That's my
I'm not
opinion.
going to
I
tell you
don't
where it
think
goes, but I will tell you that historically it has, but it is certainly up to the committee and legislature.
I'll make a recommendation that we pull this section out and redirect it to reference it to criminal justice. Motion.
Well, it was to strike sections 10 through 15, but I don't want to remove the section that we've heard about if it's, 10, 15 completed. Well, I mean, that's why I was trying to understand the THC level evidentiary weight in the beginning of section 12. Was that leading up to, so part of section 12 is dealing with,
2432.
Well, Representative Powers, could you rescind your first motion and clarify your next motion, which would be sections 10 through 15?
I want to make sure that I think it's all of 10 through 15. I think Representative Bryan agrees with this, all of 10 through 15.
We all in agreement? Representative Bryan?
I'm saying, if they're gonna look at the OUI laws and all that together, you ought to leave it all in one package. What we do, we take that out, that would complicate it even more. Give them a clean package, take the whole section, which is not our purview, our expertise in a way, but don't take parts of it out, because then they have to chase that part.
The full section would be sections 10 through 15. Is that correct?
Well, that's what's proposed here. I'm kind of getting something that the PBTs are not necessarily part of that, although they weren't proposed until now as part of it, and they are sort of policy questions about another device used for determining impairment.
Absolutely.
I'd like to amend my motion to strike sections 10 through 15 and send it to criminal justice for review. But I'd also like to request to ask, I think there is a formation of a study group going on, and may I request that Representative Russell comes and answers that?
Well, before we do that, let's
Yeah.
finish this.
Okay.
All right? Representative Gilway.
Thank you, Chair. Since I started the thought of the preliminary breath testing devices, and we're sending the whole, it's okay if we send the whole package over, they'll look at the whole thing. It is relating to OUIs. I don't think it's a bad thing to have included, but if we're going to send it all away, have them properly hear it, I have confidence that they'll address it in due course. So, strike what I said earlier. Just let it go.
We have an amended motion by Representative Powers, seconded by Representative Hobart, to pull sections 10 to 15 out with a recommendation to redirect those to the Criminal Justice Committee. Not sure if that's the correct word. Probably.
I guess the question is, you can't really pull out a piece of an LD and give it to them. You could hold it and ask them to look at it, and although they would only give you, I guess, a recommendation. If you wanted them to actually take these issues,
Actually,
work
he's
like a
not in that,
bill,
doesn't
they could do a joint order to request a
Yeah.
committee bill to put these in it, and then they'd have a bill to vote, which would be separate from this bill. If you really want to separate the two and deal with these issues, I think that's how you do it. Unless they have another, I don't think they do, but I can check to see if they have another vehicle that may.
So, I guess what you're saying is all or nothing with this bill, LD 1320. You can't pull a section out, redirect it to another committee.
You could pull a section out and ask another committee to look at it and make recommendations back to you about what should be done about it.
That's what we want to do.
Okay. So that means a letter and information from you and notes and this, and say, please review this, let us know what you think, what you recommend.
That'll be the motions from Representative Powers, seconded by Representative Hobart. Before we take a final vote on that, questions?
Not really a question, but I want to make sure we send all the reference material over to our
Absolutely. We do that. Before we take a final, Representative Rowe.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, if we amend the bill and refer over to the other committee, and then it's going to get back, we're ultimately going to have to make a decision. Ultimately, decision will be made here.
That's correct.
Right.
I'm not sure the time frame on that. Representative Bryan.
Thank you, Senator. And Representative Burrows, right, I still think we need to divorce them and have a separate bill, because so it gets to the floor, it gets complicated, all these things there, we may lose a good part, the whole thing could go down for no reason, so we need to be responsible. Separate it, as you say, find a way to make another bill out of that part of it.
Well, I think you almost have to table this bill, wait for their review, come back with recommendations, what they think we should do with this, and then add the whole thing, put the whole thing back together again, send it up to the floor.
They might lose the whole thing.
What do you think?
That is one option if you want to put it back in and ask them to do that review and make recommendations back to you. If you want to keep it totally separate, then you need to request, I think the committee could do it or someone else could do an after deadline bill, a separate bill to just deal with those sections. Those are the options, I think.
Well, it's so happy to get the chair. That's really nice. Yes. Would you like to
She's
chime
already
in?
read it.
Senator Rosen.
Well, I'm coming in late, but we have 2 marijuana bills coming before criminal justice next Wednesday. So I don't know if we can use that as a
Are they
vehicle.
dealing with the level of intoxication or?
I haven't seen the bills yet.
Well, I think that'd be a good idea. We could just forward this to your committee. It's fortunate you came in when you did. That's not powers.
May I ask you, Mr. Chair, why we can't just break it out and request that at the second bill?
Well, you have to get that deadline bill approved. And I think that's cumbersome at this point. Well, we send this up to the committee, let the committee review it with the recommendations. Well, they may have something in one of their bills already that pertains to this.
I just don't want to compromise the Secretary of State's request for the other sections of the bill.
Well, we're dealing with those now. At this level, we're taking this section out.
That's not my understanding of what we're doing. I guess I'm confused now. I thought we were sending the whole bill.
No. Just
But you
section 10
can't-
through 15 are going to be reviewed by the Criminal Justice Committee.
Okay, so
You can't give them the bills, but you can say, take these sections, we're asking for your
Review.
opinion, your review, your recommendations, and then they come back to you with those. Then you do with them what you will. That's one way to keep it all in one LD.
So this bill is going to sit here somewhere until that review is,
If that's the way you
review
want to do
process is
it.
done. And then it comes back to us with their recommendations or perhaps some guidelines as to how we should deal with this. So I'm just thinking out loud here, perhaps we should table the remainder of this bill, take the sections 10 through 15, send them to criminal justice for their review and recommendations. And once they do that, it comes back to us, then we can either incorporate their suggestions or not.
That's what you do.
So,
I think I should represent that first.
Senator Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so, Marion, would this make it simple if we simply table this bill, and then we send the bill to the Criminal Justice Committee, ask them to review and recommend sections 10 through 15. So everything is stopped, they review it, give us back their recommendations, then we finally act.
It's a cleanup way of doing it. I like it. Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Or can we, if we pull the section out and send that section somehow to criminal justice and they add that section to one of their bills? If it's a marijuana bill. That would make it. Yeah.
What's your pleasure, committee? We all have different ways of doing this. I like Senator Diamond's idea. Is that fair?
Mr. Chair, I'd go along with supporting Senator Diamond's concept at this point of table and sending that section out and set tight till